Welcome, everybody, to a special pop-up edition of the Exes podcast. I'm Scott.
I'm Therese.
And we are the Exes. And we talk a lot on our show about, maintaining friendships after relationships end, and certainly all things to do with relationships and accountability and all those things. But we also talk about what all exes think about is murder. We love to talk about that. And we're both big crime buffs. We both enjoy following these things. Certainly, we do not enjoy violence against anybody. We're not very happy to see people get hurt, but we are fascinated by the criminal investigations and trials. And that brings us up to our favorite and insane couple, the Daybells, the Chad Vallow, Daybell, whatever they are, Chad and Lori Daybell. They are there's a string of bodies behind them just to get everybody up to date. Husband and wife who started as a relationship, and they were both married to other people, and she was estranged from her husband or separated from her husband, and he was married, and somehow her husband actually died in a self-defense with her brother. And then his wife died in strange circumstances, a seemingly healthy woman dying in her sleep. And then after that, her two children, JJ and Kylie, were missing for months and months and months until their bodies were found in a shallow grave in Chad's backyard. And by the way, they married during all of this chaos. As soon as his wife was dead, within 2 weeks, they were getting married. And then the brother who had a hand in all of this also died. But he's the one death where they're not actually investigating the cause at this point. So there is a handful of dead people, charges. Lori has been charged last year, and she has been found guilty and culpable in the deaths of the two children and as an accessory in the death of Chad's wife. Chad is now on trial for the death of his wife and the accessory in the deaths of the two children. All of that being said, and he's on trial, she got shipped back to another state where she's now facing charges for the death of her husband, the one that was self-defense, and the attempted murder of her nephew or something like that. Yeah. So that gets us all up to date on what's going on with this insane family. And Chad's trial has just started. These people are people who used religion as a big part of the reason they did the things they did, and they're hiding behind the Lord's word. And these people they killed were zombies, but they're still not saying they killed them. So I mean, it's just a mess all over the place. Hey, Sandy Mom is with us. Hi.
Hi.
So, Therese, I mean, where are we at now? Because now Chad's trial started about a week ago. They picked the jury, and they're in what state are we in now? Idaho. And it seems like if they found her guilty, this should be relatively smooth to find him guilty as well. And her trial, it wasn't like there was a whole lot of, she might get off. It seemed like it was written from the beginning. This is a pretty simple trial, and it truly was. It was pretty fast. Everything went smooth. Why are we expecting any kind of bumps or turns in his trial now?
Oh, because his lawyer is actually going to try to defend him. Which is what he should do, right?
Yeah, of course.
And they are pretty much throwing Lori and her dead brother under the bus and back over.
Yeah, so they hit him, they backed up, they hit him again, and then they got away by running him over again.
Yeah, right.
But that's what they're doing now, is they're really trying to paint this picture. With Lori, they talked about the relationship with Chad, and they talked about all the stuff they did, but there wasn't really a point where in her trial she was pointing the finger at him at all.
No, and I think that it's been said that she instructed her lawyers. They were not to throw Chad under the bus. They were not to throw Alex under the bus. And they were not allowed to bring up any mental health issues for her.
So basically, she tied their hands completely.
She really did, yeah.
Now, Chad has free reign because he's obviously a big jerk. And they started from the very beginning of this trial is she's the seductress in Chad's life. She seduced him into things. And even though he's not saying I did it because of her, he's still saying I didn't do anything. But he's saying if anything happened, it was because of her. So that's kind of where we're going, right?
Yeah, it's kind of where we're at. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so we're seeing a lot of repeat evidence.
We are. The first couple of days were a little boring. It's a lot of, well, I mean, some of the detectives are pretty interesting. Like Detective Hermosillo, he always is very good on the stand. Keeps his temper down. He's very articulate. There's a couple, maybe not as articulate.
Right.
Maybe fumble a little, maybe get a little flustered. But it's basically the same evidence there that we've heard, right? Because they investigated the crime, so the crime is the same crime, so it's basically the same info. So it could get a little boring. But the other day, they played a video of Chad's daughter speaking to her when he was in the back of the police car, which we have never seen before.
Let's set the stage for this. He's in the back of the police car because they were searching the yard. Let me get this in real quick. Crystal is with us saying, hi, Scott, I was in rehab there 5 years ago. Now I'm listening to your podcast. Thank you. Oh, Crystal, thanks for reaching out. It's good to know people are successful in their recovery and their life. And thank you so very much for reaching out and for listening. We appreciate it. So let's set the stage. He's in the back of a police car because they just searched his house and now they're searching his yard and they found stuff in the backyard.
Well, they didn't search the house. They didn't search the house. It was only the yard.
Oh, they never searched the house.
Well, not at
that point. Not at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, so they searched the yard and they had found something.
They had found JJ, I believe.
Okay.
At that time.
So, which obviously they couldn't confirm it at that moment, but that's what they suspected. So he's in the back of the police car.
They found human remains, right? So whenever you find human remains on your property, they're gonna want to talk to you.
Yeah.
No matter who they are.
It's not normal to have human remains laying around. Just a little tip for future killers. Just a tip. So he's in the back of this police car. Now, he hasn't been formally charged yet.
No.
It's a very, they got to bring you in because it's like they found a body.
Yeah.
And now his daughter comes up to the police car and is now having a conversation with him. And so, again, he could have sat there and said, I don't know what's going on. I don't know anything. I don't know why they're arresting me, which is what probably an innocent person would do. Wouldn't you think?
Well, I would think so, yes.
Yeah. They certainly wouldn't be talking about what they believe is now going to happen. And now the stage is set. What did he say to his daughter that was so damning or at least interesting?
Well, he did say, I'm not coming back.
That's not a good statement.
Not a good statement. And then he was talking a bunch of financial, telling her where all this money is hidden and how to pay this and how to pay that. And yeah, her and her husband should move into his house and take the mattress if you want. And all this stuff, right? But he actually hadn't been told even what they found in his yard. They just told him that they were told to stop him and detain him. They didn't tell him what they found.
Right.
His daughter did. She said, they're telling me they found human remains in the backyard. And she says, I told them there's a lot of dogs buried back there. And the detective said, excuse me, but we know the difference between human remains and canine.
I think that's day one of detective school. You learn the difference between a dog skull and a human skull. Yeah.
But she said it, and then he just went back to another subject. She's not saying, Dad, why are they saying there's human remains in our backyard? Who's buried in our backyard? How did they get there? No, I'm not moving into your house when you've got bodies in your yard.
Yeah, I know.
Is that not a normal response?
Well, in his response to have no reaction.
No reaction.
Instead of saying, oh my God, what are you talking about? Which is what normally I would say if they said, hey, we found human remains in your yard. I would say, where? What are you talking about? Oh my God. Is it like an ancient burial site? Where are we? What's going on? Sandy saying long-term planning, he knew what they were going to find. He did react just like he knew they were going to find it. And he was now setting up his daughter to say, okay, I'm not going to come back, or at least not for a while. And here's how you need to do this. And here's how you need to. He was so matter of fact about this thing.
Yeah.
I just don't understand anybody who has even been questioned for a moment by the police about anything. And maybe some of you, Therese, have you ever had the experience where you were questioned by the police about something?
No.
Okay. Well, I figured with your brother Matt, and me, and the trouble we got into, there might have been once or twice they came to you, but I guess not.
No, they never came to me. No.
They always caught us because we were stupid. But yeah, we go even before we were exes. We were friends way back in the old days too. But I've been asked questions by the police on things that I've got nothing to do with. It's just because I was hanging around people who were always getting in trouble. And it always is an uncomfortable thing. And I'm never very sure of anything. And I'm just like, I'm nervous. And I've never seen somebody so cool in how he was talking.
I know.
I've never seen somebody so just disinterested in what was going on. He was simply saying, okay, we're going to deal with this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I'm like, what is this guy? It really shows almost a monstrous detachment from the horrors of what they were finding, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
So I don't know. I mean, that is circumstantial evidence because of his reaction. People's reactions cannot be part of law because, well, this is true. As Sandy said, it's a sociopath. Yeah. That is sociopathic behavior.
It is.
But that is not evidence. That is just
right. And they weren't trying for it to be evidence, right? Because a lot of people were saying, why are they releasing this video? How can they do that legally? But he wasn't being questioned. He wasn't being talked to by the police at all.
Right.
His daughter asked to see him. They said, sure, why not? It's the same as like jail calls are being monitored. Yeah. You know that. And people still say stupid shit.
And you're constantly hearing in all of these cases, all the cases that we follow and everything, there's always that part of what was their state of mind before, during, or after. And showing his state of mind at that moment was really, really telling. That, again, it's not evidence, it's circumstantial. His state of mind is a circumstantial thing, but it is very telling about his state of mind. It is very telling that he was not going to be shocked by a human body being found on his property. On his property.
And then she said they're searching for more. And I asked him, are they going to continue to search forever until they find? And the detective said, well, no, but we're going to look. And she didn't say, Dad, why are they still searching? Is there more? What are you not telling us? Like, I don't know. If it was in our backyard, I'd be like, Dad, what the hell is going on?
Right.
Right. I mean, and she moved in they searched the yard the next day and got all of the evidence they wanted about Tylee. And then they pulled and left, and she moved in with her husband the next day after that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so your mother was killed in that house.
Yeah.
In her bed. They found human remains of 2 kids in the backyard. And the day after the FBI and everybody leaves the search, you just move across the street. Right into that house. I know, it's weird. It's all weird.
Now, at that point, we need to make it clear. At that point, when she moved into the house and when he was arrested, or at least taken into custody for the body being found, and then the other body below it, there was no investigation into the death of Tammy, his wife at the time. The investigation had not started at that point. It started shortly thereafter. But
I believe so. I forgot when they exhumed her body.
They had not exhumed her body. That body was not exhumed before the kids were found. It was exhumed afterwards, I believe.
Yeah, I believe so.
So basically, the daughter's moving in, and the accepted story of she died in her sleep when there was not a person in her life who said that she was in any kind of health risk. There was not a doctor who said she had a problem. There was nobody. She was a healthy human being. And the only story about her being unhealthy came from her husband, who said, I was told by the doctor she wasn't going to live that long. God told me she wasn't going to live that long. She was very, very sick, and then she died. And I mean, nobody went, oh, Dad, that doesn't sound right. So even the kids were just, you know.
Well, now, Pryor said, who's Chad's defense lawyer, he said that 3, maybe 4 of his children are going to testify. And so everyone's thinking that it's going to be, because he's got this narrative that there was heart trouble in the family, and that the original coroner said that it was probably heart failure and pulmonary edema, which there was not an autopsy. They did this looking at her body laying there in the room and decided on no autopsy. Well, Chad requested no autopsy and they agreed.
Right.
But he's bringing up, like, he got her medical, well, they got her medical records, and no, she didn't have anything major. She was on a little Prozac. She had been on a pain pill because she hurt her arm like a couple of months before, and she had some anemia. But I ask you, what woman in their 40s does not have a little bit of anemia?
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I mean, that's not, but Pryor's making this a whole big deal, of course.
Yeah. Which is stretching medical. It doesn't make any sense. I'm going to have a hard time thinking you're going to find a doctor who could say that prescribed Prozac and anemia equals dying in your sleep. I'm not sure they're going to find that.
From asphyxiation.
Yeah, well, they didn't know that when she was first buried. Obviously, then it comes out. And, I don't know. They did not determine asphyxiation because there weren't like choke marks on her neck or anything like that. Just so people know.
There were bruises on her arms and on her hips as she she was being held down. JJ also had similar bruises.
They had reticky in the eyes, and they had some different things that showed. But whether that could have been determined by just a cursory examination, even if you didn't do a full autopsy, it's unknown. But this is one of those cases where it should not be a close family member saying, I don't want an autopsy. I think that decision should not be left up to family. That should be left up to a medical person who says, because any medical person worth their weight in anything, anybody worth their salt, would have said, this woman should not have died in her sleep. There's no indication of why she should have. So we need to do an autopsy. That should not be left up to family.
Well, in most states, an unwitnessed death, especially of someone, I mean, okay, maybe if you're 88 years old, they wouldn't challenge it that much.
Well, because there's an expectation there, yes.
But somebody who's 49, in most states, an unwitnessed death is an automatic autopsy.
Right.
Apparently not in Idaho.
Apparently not. Apparently, the same guy treating the cows is the coroner there or something.
Well, that could be.
The vet and the coroner are the same thing. I don't know.
They don't have to have a medical degree.
What?
Coroners don't have to have a medical degree.
I did not know that.
Yeah, especially in Idaho, the more less developed, like New York City, LA, Chicago, they do have medical personnel that are medical coroners, but these smaller towns and stuff, nope. Any Joe Schmo could apply for the job.
Wow. Well, it's a part-time job. Usually I'm the cook down at the Greasy Spoon.
That could be true.
Wow. Well, Quincy would be rolling over in his grave right now.
I'm telling you.
That is ridiculous. We got to get a whole family of sociopaths. Yeah, it sounds like it. Sounds like a whole town of sociopaths. So okay, so we've got this evidence of his reactions to finding bodies, which is super, trying to sound young, that's super sus, okay? That is sus, which is shady. It is super bad. It is. I know it's not working for me at all. I'm just going to stick to everything's cool and neato, people. But that is not cool. It is not groovy to be sitting in the back of a police car being chill while they're finding dead bodies in your yard. Just a little clip for everybody. This is if you're ever going to do something wrong, act surprised when they catch you.
Yeah.
Act surprised, just a little
Act
surprise,
surprised.
just a little bit. Like, oh, human body, wow. At least act fascinated by the idea. Don't act like it's, well, of course, if you're going to dig in my yard, you're going to find bodies, of course. Doesn't everybody have them?
Right.
So we've got that. Now we're moving forward into the rest of the stuff. There was a lot of police testimonial, which was truly 90% of it you could have slept through. And what is this picture of? This is us getting the backhoe ready to dig a hole. And what is this picture of? This is the same backhoe from the other side getting ready to dig a hole. What is this picture? They do some things, right? I mean, some of that stuff is really ridiculous.
Yeah, but they have to lay the foundation.
They have to lay the foundation. I understand. But that's where they need Disney to be a part of the court system, where they could just make a movie and say, is this what happened? Yes. Okay, good. You get like, Belle and some other Disney princesses to act the part of the killer or whatever, and you just put it together. But
the financials were a bit boring.
Yeah, that's true. The financials,
Yeah.
and they did connect, or they're trying to connect him to some of the financial stuff where the children's money was being used.
Yeah, but I don't think they can connect him to the kids' money because that was all Lori. I know that they're trying, but I don't know if they really should be going there. Plus, what is that going to matter? If he gets found guilty of conspiracy, if he even gets found guilty of murdering his wife, right? Which is right now, it's my hope that that's going to come through because I think they're messing up the other stuff. But what's the financials really going to do? They're never going to get that money back. He's not going to serve extra time if he gets a death penalty or life in prison.
And many times they'll use the financials, Therese, to create motive, is what they're trying to do. But in this case, that wasn't necessary because the motive was obviously the two of them being together, which they have laid out for us. They're getting married 2 weeks later on a beach in Hawaii with rings and stuff that was bought before her death.
Yeah.
It wasn't about the money unless he got some insurance money from her.
He did.
I'm sure.
He actually, I think only days before the first attempt on her life, he upped her life insurance from the minimum to the maximum, which was like $450,000.
Wow. So that's the one financial you really want to talk about.
I would think so, yes. But they spent all day yesterday on Tylee's bank transactions and how Lori transferred her funds from SS Social Security over to her account. But that's all Lori.
Yeah. That was Lori doing that. But they want people to know that he was akin to this, or at least a part of this in some way. And, I don't know. They haven't done it yet where they draw a direct line between him and the money with the kids. Maybe at one point they do where he handled something. I don't know. They're not there yet, but they just kind of outlined the whole picture. So we've got all this going on. There is a financial motive for him to kill his wife. There's certainly a personal motive because he wanted to be with Lori. They've never made a real compelling argument why Lori wanted the kids dead or why he wanted to participate in the death of the kids. There hasn't been a real compelling reason, and I'm not sure we're going to find that ever, because this is the part where insanity comes in a little bit. There was some wackadoo craziness going on there where it wasn't a real benefit for them to kill the kids. Stealing that little bit of money was not enough of a motive,
No, I think the bigger motive was they were a hurdle. Taking care of the kids and being a responsible parent was a hurdle to what she wanted to do with her life.
But there were family members. This isn't somebody who had no options. This is somebody, they had family members who would have taken the kids.
There's always
taken the kids, gladly taken the kids.
But isn't there always people that were willing to take the kids? Like, so many children get killed in this world today for even less reasons, right?
Yeah.
But yes, there were family members. And so in one breath, she's telling the lie that she's going to let JJ go live with his grandmother. And then in the next breath, she's telling that same person that, oh no, Kay is trying to steal him from me. You don't want him anyway.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah. So
it doesn't make any sense.
That's why the narrative that she puts out does not make sense. If these people, if you were trying to protect, which her whole message was protect, especially JJ, was 90% of it, protect JJ from those people. That narrative makes no sense,
right?
Because those people would have taken care of him and dealt with him. Why not just give it to him if you wanted out of the thing? So it's just that crazy part. Now, what does all this mean for Chad right now? Because we've already convicted Lori. Right. So for Chad right now they've done a video, and this video to me was really, really compelling as far as the kids are concerned. Okay. A woman named Gibbs, can't remember her first name. Do you remember? Melanie Gibbs. Who was one of the people who introduced these two together and been friends with them for quite a long time, was dragged into this chaos when Lori told the police at one point that
let's not say she was dragged into. She was a very willing participant.
She was a willing, I don't want to give the impression she was willing in killing people.
No, but she was willing in their beliefs.
Yes.
She, she obviously knew of their relationship when they were both still married. And she let that slide, even though they're all supposed to be Mormons and sealed to their spouses for eternity. She knew about the affair. She didn't tell either one of their spouses, hey, by the way, your husband is stepping out on you. By the way, your wife has got to, right? And then she left her own husband to take up with one of these other wackadoodle believer people. All right. So I'm not saying she dragged into it.
All right. Let's say willing participant in the lifestyle.
Yes.
But dragged into the investigation of the kids by them stating that the kids were with her. Correct. And they didn't even give her the heads up until the police started getting closer, and they called her and said, the police are going to call you. Don't answer. Don't talk to them. We told them JJ is with you, so just don't say anything. And she actually avoided the police for a while and actually did do that until finally she said no. Now, she then called Lori and Chad and recorded the conversation. This conversation, what this conversation proved is that Lori and Chad were on the exact same page. I'm not saying it proved that he actually physically killed the kids, but he knew what was going on because the whole conversation was on speakerphone with the two of them and her asking about the kids and them both saying JJ is safe. And again, at this time, they weren't even looking at close into Kylie. It was more about JJ. And them saying, no, JJ's fine. He's safe. He's happy. He's in a good place, And they're saying the Lord told us what to do, and we're hiding him from the evil people, and you're part of the evil people now. And he was participating in that conversation. Right. If he didn't know what happened, why wasn't he saying where the hell is the kid? Yeah. So he knew. Yeah. And that to me is very damning. What do you think about it?
I think it is very damning. Yes. But I also was very, very irritated with her today. She did a terrible job on the stand, and I don't anticipate her doing any better tomorrow.
Now, yeah, because they have this video, which is fantastic for the prosecution. Then she gets on the stand, and all of a sudden, she can't remember shit.
Right? She can't remember anything. I don't recall that. And I may have said that. Oh, here. It's in print on a text. Oh, yeah, I guess I did send that then.
But not coming forward and saying, this is what happened. Yeah.
Drive me crazy.
So that's where we're at right now. That kind of gets us up to date, other than the fact that apparently, this is where the lawyers are now starting to screw things up. Apparently, one of the lawyers for Chad Daybell.
No.
Oh, no.
An independent lawyer in Idaho.
An independent lawyer in Idaho, representing who though?
Nobody. Himself.
So what was his point of being in the court? What was the deal?
He wanted to delay the start of the trial. He filed a motion online the day before the trial was supposed to start, saying, I don't know, claiming some information or claiming something. So they had a hearing about that today. They sealed that and started the trial and ignored it for a while, but they had a hearing today. And he pissed off the judge, I tell you.
Well, wait a minute. Let me get this straight. I was under the understanding this was one of Chad's people.
No.
So this is not a lawyer for the defense or the prosecution.
No.
Who is not involved in the case, who's filing motions to delay the case.
Correct.
Throw the wackadoo in jail. What the hell is he doing?
And brought his own lawyer to the hearing today. The judge is like, you filed the motion. You are a lawyer. You don't need a lawyer representing you. He's like, we're having a hearing about the motion that you filed. You should be able to answer my questions on the motion you filed.
And did he make any statement about why he wanted to delay the trial?
I was trying to listen to the end right before we got on.
Okay.
Basically, he thought there was some violation of some section, blah, 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 blah. And Judge Boyce said, absolutely not.
You heard it here, folks. The blah, blah, blah defense was being used.
Terms, yeah.
We're going to take a look at that and do a deep dive, although it certainly sounds like somebody who's grabbing probably, besides Donald Trump, the biggest trial going on right now in the country. And he wants to get his 5 minutes of fame in there. And he just may do that as he sits in jail for doing this kind of bullshit.
Well, he's going to be paying a pretty penny for pulling.
He's going to pay a pretty penny, and I'm pretty sure that he'd probably end up in front of the bar and could lose his license for doing what he did.
Yeah, I would assume that Judge Boyce is going to report him to the bar, and then his lawyer, who was sitting there, who Judge Boyce said, "I'm not going to argue any of this with you," told Judge Boyce that he was in contempt of court.
What?
He tried to tell the judge that the judge was in contempt.
I can only imagine that the prosecuting table and the defense table probably chuckling a little bit and thinking, at least they're not looking at us. Look at this guy. I mean, holy cow.
They actually did do like because once he told him, I'm not arguing the case with you, that he is a lawyer who filed the motion. I will talk to him only. But you may have a few minutes to discuss, if you have anything to discuss with your client. So they did take a few minutes and let those two go off and discuss. And you could hear somebody chuckling over the microphone.
Wow.
We don't know who it was because they didn't have the cameras on. They had that court symbol up. But you could basically hear somebody chuckling.
Oh, man. It's always good when you have a psychotic show up at an event. It's always a lot of entertainment.
Oh, my gosh.
So here's where we're at. We're about a week into the trial. The jury got set. Everything got set. The judge and thank God, by the way, I'm going to say good job, Court TV or whoever cleaned up the audio and video. Great job, because day 1 and 2 were almost impossible to watch.
Well, actually, I guess the courts did improve upon it because they got so many complaints.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you couldn't hear anything. Everything was mumbled. They had the lawyers carrying microphones like they were Elvis at Viva Las Vegas. I mean, it was like hello, and they couldn't get anything straight. In the video, you couldn't see. Yeah. You couldn't see which one. You had to listen for the voice. Because the body shape of one of the prosecutors and one of the defense attorneys is almost exactly the same. So unless you know what they're saying, but you couldn't hear. But now they've done a great job. But what they've done is once they cleared that up, we get a real good look at Chad and his lack of reaction. Have you seen any reaction in the footage that you've watched? Have you seen him react to anything?
Not really. Not really. He blinks every now and then.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And he looks at his laptop every now and then.
Yeah. Well, he looked around, and they have, of course, in the beautifully set shot that they have of Chad, they've got behind him the grandparents that you could see sitting behind him. That while they were doing the Gibb video, they had the picture on the grandparents and them being sad and crying, and you could see Chad in the foreground, and he's just stoic, nothing, no response.
Yeah.
So
He's an odd duck.
He's not giving us anything. We got a long way to go before this is over. Any idea what's coming up in the next few days with the trial? Or
no, Melanie Gibb is going to be back on tomorrow with Pryor, so that'll be interesting. But then I don't know who's next.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that they're going to have Brandon, maybe Brandon.
That's Lori's son, right?
No, that was her nephew.
Her nephew, the one who shot.
I don't know. I don't know if they'll have him, but I think who else do we have? Well, probably Melanie's husband, who she apparently doesn't live with anymore. So her husband, David Warwick, because he was there.
They were all there at Lori's house the last night JJ was seen alive.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's some interesting things that happened there and statements that were made during that evening that were very questionable.
Yeah. Zulema. I'm trying to remember. Melanie, I don't know if they're going to risk Melanie Pulowski again, the niece, because remember she came to Lori's trial and she had watched her ex-husband's testimony.
Yeah.
So they didn't have her testify, but her current husband did, Ian. So I don't know. I'm sure there's going to be some more experts and blah, blah, blah.
And we haven't got fully into the medical ethers, which we're going to have a lot more of that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
About
Kay hasn't been on yet either.
Is she going to testify?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Terrific. This is just a case that it's interesting. If you have a chance to watch it, I encourage you to watch it. Definitely the way they film it, it's actually pretty clear what's going on. And even when they're doing the visuals and the overhead projector thing, they're giving us good information there. We get to see it this time on this particular trial, which a lot of trials, they don't let you see that stuff. And they're letting us see that. So this is pretty interesting as far as the trial. I'm thinking there's not a whole lot he's going to do to get out of any of this unless he pulls some sort of rabbit out of his hat, which I don't see happening yet. But they have questioned a few things that we did not see in Lori's trial. And some of that was, him making statements when there was no recording devices around and them counting that statement. And there was all sorts of things that were kind of odd. But all in all, I think we're looking at how long are we thinking on this trial? I heard it was like 6 to 8 weeks or something. Is that about right?
I think they're saying like 8 to 10.
8 to 10. Okay.
Yeah.
8 to 10 weeks. Like I said, we're going to have a lot of those days where the whole day is going to be spent describing the damage to the bodies and the things like that, which is going to be quite disturbing for people to listen to. But we'll keep you apprised of that as we go. Also, next time we get together, we're certainly going to update you on that. We've got some new information on the College Town murders and things that are going on there where they're building a defense where they're saying he couldn't have possibly been in the area when it happened. So that'll be interesting. We're going to share that with you on our next show. If we got time next week, we'll give you another update. Maybe we'll give you information on that as well. Therese and I will check our schedules and stuff. But expect our pop-ups at any time. This really wasn't really a pop-up because it's a Wednesday night at 7, which is our normal time. So it's not really,
it's our off week.
It's our off week. So
actually, it's Thursday.
Today's Thursday?
Thursday, yes.
Oh, it is Thursday today.
It is.
I'm very confused. I was working a lot this week, and I got a lot to do tomorrow. But we'll get back to you. I'm sure next week we'll at least spend a few minutes. We'll get together for at least a few minutes to keep you guys up on what's going on there. And I definitely want to talk to you about the College Town murders. The 4 college students who were stabbed to death by a student from a neighboring college. And it looked like an open and shut. Now they're starting to bring in some evidence. Not quite as open and shut as they thought it was. So we're going to talk about that.
Also in Idaho.
Guys, for family vacation this year, don't go to Idaho. Don't go to Idaho. And if your family's in trouble, your marriage is on the rocks, don't go to Idaho. It's just too tempting. Yeah, just don't do it.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
Don't do it. And as always, if you or somebody you know is struggling, a lot of these issues could be avoided if people had good mental health counseling and good help for them. Because everybody says insanity defense or insane. Listen, killing somebody altogether, just killing somebody, is an insane act. And so, if somebody you know or yourself is having any problems with mental health, please get help. Please get help. Don't wait. Don't wait until something tragic happens. Either they do something to themselves or to somebody else. Get help for them. They may not love you because you're turning them in or you're getting them help, but I hope they hate you for a good, long, healthy life as opposed to ruining their life by making a bad decision. So please just keep that in mind. Therese, any final thoughts on what we're looking at here?
No, I agree with that last statement.
Excellent.
No?
Excellent. And we're going to keep an eye on the trial. I mean, I don't know how you're doing it. You're working and still following and on top of everything. Do you have like one ear on it all the time, or as much as you can?
No, I can't really listen at work, so I read the updates.
Oh, okay.
The one, yeah, that one site he does. He's typing constantly. So when I get a chance, I sit and I read the updates, and then I try and go back and find what I really want to listen to.
Yes. Yeah. All of the days are recorded, and you could go on YouTube, obviously, and pretty much any Idaho news outlet. They've got their own kind of feed going on. But Court TV has one, and then of course, just look up Chad Daybell, and it'll show you the live feeds.
Yeah, there's a lot of them playing it.
There's tons of them. Yeah, keep your eye on the trial. We'll keep our eye on the trial. We'll definitely update you sometime next week about what's going on, get you caught up on some other things. And as always, if you're watching a repeat of this or just watching the rerun or whatever, and you want to leave a comment, please leave a comment. We'll go back. We'll look at the comments. We want to know what you're thinking. We want to know what you think about not only our show, but the cases that we're following, your opinions. It means something to us. So please do that. And of course, subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends, people.
Hit the thumbs up.
Hit the thumbs up. That's what we got. All right. Scott and Therese for the Exes podcast, we want to thank you for being here. And as always, everybody just be nice to each other, take care of each other, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.